Greetings, subscribers! As many of you know, the 1984 film The Karate Kid is probably my number one favorite movie of all time. I love learning details and trivia about it. And regarding the realism of the karate scene there, I can't think of anyone in the world I'd rather ask about it from than Darryl Vidal, the real-life martial artist who played the semi-finalist Johnny fought. He used his real name as his character's name. And he was also the stunt double from when we saw Mr. Miyagi practicing the crane kick. Vidal has an endless resume of credibility in martial arts outside this movie. He was nice enough to let me interview him, so let's get started. You've participated in many karate tournaments in real life. Looking at the All-Valley Karate tournaments in the movie, can you tell me a few things that you feel are accurate portrayals of karate tournaments, and a few things you consider to be inaccurate?
One of the main things that was accurate about it was, the single elimination style of setting the fights up, where you basically have a bracket, and then you fill up the bracket with the people's names, and as they win, their names move forward. That's kind of a standard way of doing tournament karate. And then, if the numbers are different from 4 and 8 and 16, then they have a bye system, which allows odd numbers of people to come in and then to scale back into that. I don't know if you know this, but when they filmed The Karate Kid back in 1983, they actually had, I think, 2 or 3 actual karate tournaments where they were just a regular karate tournament, but they called them the Karate Kid tournaments. And so people would go and compete, and they use those tournaments kind of to expose some of the actors to a karate tournament environment. And then when they had the final one that they were actually filming at, there were some real karate students in the side shots. When they have the big overhead shot, you see 4 or 5 rings. Those were actual students doing actual point style fighting. But I would also say at the time, 83, we were already starting to wear, the protective gear. So by that time, we were, had hand and foot guards and mouthpieces. So the whole idea of bare knuckle karate, that kind of ended in the 70s. But the way they filmed it, there was no pads, no mouthpieces. So, there's a couple of things that were kind of different. The way they did the scoring is accurate, where you have a center judge, and then you either have 2 or 4 scoring judges that are at the side, and they put a red sash on one of the fighters, which you can see in the movie. When pointers scored, the judges hold up the red flag or the white flag. So that's an accurate depiction. So a couple of items there to answer your question.
You were the stunt double from when we saw Mr. Miyagi doing the crane kick on the beach. You show how a real karate expert does the move. How effective of a move do you think it really is during a fight?
So when they approached me about doing this, they actually approached me to be in the movie to do the tournament scene and to perform a lot of these flying kicks and jumping kicks, which you see me do when I fight Johnny and during the montage. So about, I don't know if it was a week or a couple of weeks into the rehearsals, where they talked to me about doing this crane technique. And so it was the director, John Avildsen, and the writer, Mark Kamen, and Pat Johnson, the center ref guy, who was also the stunt coordinator, came to me and told me about, this part of the storyline where Daniel would get his knee hurt. And so he would have to fight standing on one leg, which is kind of the premise of the crane kick. They told me he would stand on one leg and then he'd put his arms out to the side. And my first reaction was, why would you ever do that? You can't do that while you're fighting. And they came back to me and said, well, it's the crane technique and that's how we want you to do it. So I quickly learned to to shut my mouth and do what I was told. But, to answer your question, you would never do that in any kind of, whether it's point fighting or sparring or street fighting or anything like that. You'd never want to immobilize yourself by standing on one leg. And then even worse, with your arms outstretched to the side, you're really not covering yourself. So unless you were expecting your opponent to run in defenseless without his hands up, it really, I don't think would work. Now, there's been plenty of double jump kicks that you've seen executed. They did it in the tournament in Cobra Kai. Lyoto Machida used a double jump kick to knock out Randy Couture. So there's the front kick by itself is a very effective kick, but in the scenario of the crane technique where you're standing on one leg with the arms outstretched to the side, I would say that wouldn't work. You would just stand there far away and say, "What are you doing?" And then as soon as you could just bum rush him with your hands up and probably guard block the kick as it came in and then knock the guy over, which is kind of what happens. I think, I don't know if it's season 2 where one of the students tries the crane kick and they just block it, and it really is ineffective. So
that was actually Karate Kid 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. We're Chosen, or Daniel tries the crane kick and Chosen just kind of blocks it, moves out of the way.
Since the show Cobra Kai started, there's been some debate if the crane kick is legal to use in a karate tournament. Can you offer your take on that?
Sure. Actually, I think it's brilliant on the part of the three creators of Cobra Kai, because they started this debate and it really has raged. I mean, when they first came out and Johnny said it was an illegal kick, you could see videos on YouTube and discussion on Facebook and everything talking about, is the kick legal or not? So just to hit them one at a time, first of all, front kick, legal. Kick to the face, if it was controlled in tournament fighting, is legal. In fact, you can see during the tournament, Johnny kicks me in the face. Johnny kicks Ralph in the face during the fights. Dutch kicks other people in the face during the tournament. So, a kick to the face is legal. Now, in terms of excessive contact, that's what I think might be called, because in point system fighting, if the head snaps back or you draw blood or have a discoloration, bruising, that's called excessive contact, and you start to lose points. They give points to the other competitors. So my take is the kick was legal, and if anything were to be called, it would have been called as an excessive contact.
Of all the different senseis we've seen in Karate Kid movies, can you name a few similarities and differences to senseis you've had in real life?
Yeah, I saw that question. It was very interesting. I had to think about it because, one, I've only really had one major sensei in terms of Kenpo Karate, who was my sensei, Joe Rosas. And he is very much like Mr. Miyagi in that he's quiet and wise and very patient. So in that frame of reference, you might equate him to Miyagi, but he was also very practical. So he taught a very straightforward way of fighting, and our fighting is not defensive only. It's primarily offensive, because once you determine that you're in a fight or sparring or whatever it is, you want to take control of that fight. So that is kind of on the Cobra Kai side, where you would take control of the fight, you want to dominate, you want to score first. So as I think of my instructor, and I always think of this when people ask me about Cobra Kai or miyagi-do, and I always say, well, it's kind of a mix. On the one hand, you don't want to walk around, bullying people and be arrogant like the Cobra Kai, but at the same time, you want to be confident, and you don't want to be passive or meek. So I think there's always a mix of that. But as I've been around a long time and have known many senseis, I think that they all have a little bit of both, because you want to instill confidence and assertiveness in your students. So and I don't know of many senseis who actually say, like Miyagi-do does, that it's only a defensive art. So that's kind of like how I see it. I think everybody has a little bit of both, but the way they depict Miyagi-do with, oh, we're only defensive, I don't think that holds true for the most part.
Besides Karate Kid, what are some of your favorite martial arts movies ever?
Yeah, okay, well, I mean, that's a good question, and we talk about it a lot in interviews. One of the main karate movies that really inspired me from a young age was Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon. I'm still a huge fan of Bruce Lee, and I love to watch Enter the Dragon because a lot of my kicking style I learned just by watching Bruce Lee and all his movies, but Enter the Dragon obviously is the main one. And then as we go through the years, I think there have been a lot of very important phenomenon that was brought to the screen by martial artists. So, Jackie Chan and the Big Brawl, which was like the first movie that came out in the United States with Jackie Chan. I'm not a huge fan of Jackie Chan because the way he depicts his fighting is always kind of comical. He's always kind of getting hit and making funny faces. But athleticism-wise and stunt-wise, I think Jackie Chan, amazing and one of the best out there. I know that stunt people still look at what he's done on film, doing his own stunts, and he's got to be one of the most, amazing martial arts film guys. So the next movie that I think was an important, and again, this is a person that over the years I liked and then not so much anymore, but I think Above the Law with Steven Seagal was a very revolutionary movie at the time, because it was really the first exposure of Aikido into movies, and using, joint locks and throws of Aikido. And if you know anything about Aikido and some of the offshoots, Judo and Jujutsu that use some of the same movements, they can also be very gentle. Judo is the gentle way, and some of that stuff comes from, Jujutsu, Aikido type system. So Above the Law, I can go back and watch it and still enjoy the way that Steven Seagal filmed those scenes. The other thing about Above the Law that I like is it's really one of the first martial arts movies where the guy deals with guns, right? Because in martial arts movies, there's always a reason, he's beating everybody up, but how come nobody has guns, Well, Steven Seagal deals with guys with guns. So they have guns, they pull guns, he disarms people, he moves in and out, and he makes a very, believable movement in disarming people with guns. So I think that was another revolution, if you will, in martial arts movies. Let me see. After that, I really enjoy the Ip Man series with Donnie Yen, because I'm a fan. I've studied Wing Chun. I'm not like ranked in Wing Chun, but I have had many Sifus who I've worked with, and I love the ways of Wing Chun. I have a Wing Chun dummy that I train with, and so I like Donnie Yen in the way that he shows the Wing Chun, fighting other systems as well as fighting other Kung Fu systems in those movies. So that's kind of like another one of my favorites to watch. So what did I talk about? Enter the Dragon, Above the Law, Jackie Chan. Yeah, that's four pretty good movies to watch.
If the Cobra Kai producers ever asked you to appear on the show, is that something you might consider?
Well, of course, but you know that I've already appeared in the show, and they know of me because in season 1, episode 1, they have a clip of me fighting Johnny when Johnny has a flashback. So yeah, I've already kind of been in it, and plus in season 2 and season 3 they talk about me and mention my name and a little backstory to it. But there's been a lot of people that have said, bring back Vidal and have him be the sensei of Locust Valley. So I think there's an opportunity there, but at the same time, I think the writers are moving the stories forward. I don't know that there's necessarily a need to go back and bring people from the original back, although they have been doing it, right? They brought in the Cobra Kai's, and they even brought back the girl from Karate Kid 2 that he saved. So so there are a lot of those things where they're bringing people back. And of course, so yeah, to answer your question, if they were to approach me about an actual part in the movie, I'd be happy to do it. Sounds good. It would be great, and I think there's a lot of fans that would like to see that as well.
And I'm one of those fans.
Great, thanks, Joe.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very active on social media. A lot of people find me and talk to me, and I like to interact with the fans. I have a saying that, without fans, we're just egos. So, if people have liked, what I had done in the movie, not that I'm a movie star or a celebrity, but, I played a part in that. And it was such a long time ago that, many people who are our age, grew up watching the Karate Kid. So if you want to message me, I'm on Facebook. My handle is Vidal Kenpo. So if you message me there, I probably add you. Although I'm at 5,000, so I have to, kind of knock people off in order to add more people. But I pretty much actively do it. And then on Instagram, my handle is RockBreakerBoy, all one word. And so if you find me on Instagram, I'll be there. And I do, I teach Kenpo. I have my regular classes. We didn't talk about it, but I still teach. And I achieved my 10th degree black belt back in 2012. And I've been teaching Kenpo here in my city, Murrieta, for 32 years, 33 years. So we're back in person, but I do teach online classes. So if they want to, ask me about that. And I also teach Eskrima, the Filipino stick fighting. And I do that remotely too. So if people want to contact me and do some private lessons, I can do that.
Okay, Darryl Vidal, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I definitely learned a lot about one of my favorite movies of all time, and I greatly enjoyed doing this. To all viewers, I hope you enjoyed watching this half as much as I enjoyed making it. Please be sure to hit like, and if you want to see more of my videos, please feel free to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell. I would love to have you. Thank you.